2 things you should know about me. I like 60% keyboards, and I've just read Steve Jobs' autobiography. How is this related? Well, according to the book, Steve was very picky about keyboards. So much so that when he signed the fan's extended keyboard, he mutilated the F keys before signing it. He adored the Apple M0110 design, the HHKB-like keyboard made for the Macintosh. So connecting this up, I'm making a new one, or more specifically, modding Epomaker's Hack59 to B1. And I think I have the perfect keycap set to match. Oh, and also at the time of releasing, it's Steve's birthday. Let's get started. Disclaimers first. Epomaker and KeyTok sent me these units for me to review, but all thoughts and opinions are mine. This isn't an in-depth review, more so a project. So let's open up the box, in which you'll see the keyboard itself first, placed with a plastic protective sheet. Next to that is the manual for the board, followed up by the accessories on top, starting off with the extra flamingo switches, followed by the braided USB Type-C cable, then lastly is the keycap and switch puller combo. Finally, the board itself comes pre-built in this black chassis. I've got mine in the flamingo variant with this nice set of PBT die-sub keycaps. Speaking of keycaps, let's also unbox the keycaps that will be used for the build later. This are the do-the-jobs keycaps, which are obviously inspired by the fruit company. KeyTok messaged me at the right time as I was finishing up the book and thought of this idea whilst the Epomaker board arrived. Now that's all here. Let's modify this up, not before talking about the board first. To give an overview, the Epomaker Hack59 is their HHKB-like 60% layout board that comes in plastic. If you want to know more about the HHKB layout, I've made a brief history in a previous video, but in general, it's a layout based on the HHKB that omits the control key on the bottom in place for the caps lock key on top. The backspace is also modified on the true HHKB, but for some reason on this one, it's still on the top right with a 2U size. I'm not complaining though, since it resembles the M0110 more, the keyboard that originally came with the Macintosh. Basics out of the way, it weighs in at about 620 grams and is extremely light. To the front, we have the aforementioned HHKB layout, and to the side is a nice curved wedge-like profile. To the rear sits the tri-mode switch, the USB Type-C port, as well as a spot for the dongle. And finally to the back is the rubber feet and a small sticker. The PCB is hot swap with 5 pins and is perky RGB. It's also south-facing. A small accent light is seen on the top left of the board, and this, alongside the key bindings, is configurable by a BIA, which is a nice addition. Inside lives a 3000 mAh battery, and from my testing, I've got no problems with its wireless performance. The PCB and PC plate is all foamed up and mounted inside using gasket mount, and for once, it's quite bouncy. Looks like there's enough room inside for it to have movement, and all the while it having a silicone base to remove any hollowness from the board. Overall, it's a well thought out board, and even stock, the switches and stabs all feel nice and sound nice. The stock keycaps are PBT die-sub and are quite thick. The legends are well printed, and the mods as well. We'll be changing this in a bit, but let me say that if you're thinking of buying this keyboard, the keycaps are great enough to not warrant an upgrade. Solid points all throughout. Now is the fun part. My original inspiration for this board is for it to look like an M0110. Instead, with the addition of the KeyTok keycaps, I think it will be a modern twist of it, commemorating Steve and Apple in general. So let's get started. I first disassembled the whole board with flathead screwdrivers, as this board was clipped into 2 pieces. With some time, I was able to open up the board. I then removed the PCB and plate sandwich, the daughter board, foams, and at the back, I also removed the sticker and rubber feet from the main case. Finally, I sanded it down with a sandpaper and a few drops of water. I then used a primer and spray paint combo in the ivory colorway to match the color of the M0110, and did intervals of 30 minutes per coat to even out any blotches in the board, and the result was great. It's not my best work, but hey, for a simple sanding and priming job, I think it's great enough. I had trouble closing it up since the paint added some thickness to the board, but thankfully, sanding the insides helped a ton. Finally, is the addition of the KeyTok keycaps, which again are Steve Jobs themed with a smile profile, a variation of the cherry profile we know and love. It's quite thick and offers so much novelties for the whole set. And with all that said and done, I present to you my modern interpretation of the M0110. So what do you think of the project? I certainly miss the early years of me joining the hobby and modding my RK61 to be a trench-inspired one. I'm glad I was able to mod this one into what I know now is the modern M0110. For those who are into Apple or tech in general, I encourage you to read Steve's book. I got it secondhand for cheap and learned so much in reading it this past 4 months. Anyways, what do you think of the board? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm Johan J. Bumaba, and I'll see you in the next video.